Hello students, I welcome you all for today's class. I hope everybody are doing good. So before we move on to today's class, we'll have a recap of what we learned in the previous class, okay? So first we looked into what is health, followed by balanced diet, and then we moved on to malnutrition and the protein and mineral deficiency diseases. We saw the various protein deficiency diseases and mineral deficiency diseases, right? And at last we looked into what is physical exercise and rest. So in today's class, we'll be discussing about personal cleanliness, hygiene. In hygiene, you'll be learning about what is personal hygiene, and then we'll be moving on to introduction to microbes, okay? So in introduction to microbes, you'll be learning about bacteria and virus. So you'll be learning the various bacterial diseases and the diseases caused by virus, okay? So in today's class, you'll be learning about personal cleanliness, hygiene and introduction to microbes, okay? So first we'll move on to what is personal cleanliness. So in this, you'll be learning about hygiene, okay? So we have already learned what is hygiene, right? So hygiene is a set of practices performed to preserve health, okay? So hygiene is a science of the establishment and maintenance of health condition or practices conducive to health that has poor personal hygiene, okay? So what is hygiene? It is a set of practices performed in order to preserve our health, okay? So according to World Health Organization, hygiene refers to condition and practices that help us to maintain health and prevent the spread of diseases, okay? So according to WHO, hygiene refers to the conditions and practices that enables us to maintain the health and it prevents the spread of diseases, okay? So now we'll move on to what is personal hygiene. So personal hygiene involves those practices performed by an individual in order to take care for one's bodily health and well-being through cleanliness, okay? So what is personal hygiene? It generally involves those practices performed by an individual in order to take care of one's bodily health and well-being, okay? So personal hygiene includes such personal habit choices as how frequently we bathe, wash hands, trim fingernails and change clothing, okay? So it also includes the attention to keep our surfaces in the home and workplace, including bathroom facilities, clean and pathogen free, okay? So this is all about personal hygiene. So what is personal hygiene? It involves practices performed by an individual in order to take care of one's bodily health and well-being, okay? So now we'll move on to the tabulation of personal hygiene and frequency of cleanliness, okay? So the first one is eye hygiene. So the recommended frequency of cleaning is you must wash your eyes daily every morning and whenever the face is dirty, okay? In order to prevent the dirt from going into the eye, you must clean your eye daily every morning and whenever you feel your face is dirty, okay? And the second one is hair hygiene, and you must wash your hair weekly, twice preferably, or once every other day, okay? And next is the body hygiene, and you must clean your body once or twice a day. That is, you must bathe once or twice a day, okay? So next one is the oral hygiene. That is, you must brush twice a day, rinsing after each meal. That is, you must brush twice a day. That is morning and before going to bed. And you must rinse your mouth after each and every meal you eat, okay? And next one is the feet hygiene, and you must wash your feet every day. And next one will be the hand hygiene. That is, you must clean your hands every time after touching contaminated surfaces and every time before eating and touching clean surfaces, okay? That is, you must wash your hands after touching the contaminated surfaces, okay? So what is contaminated? So contaminated means impure by exposure. Okay, that is having been made impure by exposure or addition of a poisonous or polluting substances. Okay, so you must wash your hands after touching the polluted or poisonous surfaces, and you must wash your hands before eating. Okay, and next one will be the clothes hygiene, and you must wash your clothes once or twice a day. Okay, so this is all about the personal hygiene and frequency of cleanliness. Okay, so next we'll be moving on to introduction to microbes. Okay, so when you neglect personal hygiene, you are increasing the risk of falling sick. Okay, so most of the microbes belong to four major groups, that is bacteria, virus, protozoa and fungi. Okay, let us name some of the diseases or conditions caused by microorganisms due to the negligence of personal hygiene, that is diarrhea, tooth decay, athlete's foot and dandruff. Okay, so most of the microbes belongs to these four major groups, that is bacteria, virus, protozoa and fungi. Okay, so these are the gifts of bacteria, virus, protozoa and fungi. So now we'll be moving on to bacteria. So what are bacteria? Bacteria are very small prokaryotic microorganisms. So what are prokaryotic organisms? So a prokaryote is a cellular organism that lacks an envelope enclosed nucleus. Okay, so an organism which lacks nucleus is called as prokaryotic microorganisms. Okay, so bacterial cells do not have nucleus and do not usually have membrane bound organelles. Okay, so bacteria are microorganisms. Okay, you generally cannot see bacteria with your naked eye. It can only be seen with the help of a microscope. Okay, so these are the pictures of bacteria. So what are bacteria? They are organisms which are prokaryotic. Okay, so these are organisms which are prokaryotic, that is they lack nucleus. Okay, so bacterial cells do not have nucleus and they do not usually have membrane bound organelles. Okay, so bacteria can exist either as independent organisms or as parasites. Now what is parasites? So an organism that lives in or on another organisms of another species. Okay, so such type of organisms are called as parasites. So what are parasites? These are organisms that lives in or on an organisms of another species. Okay, and it gets its benefits by deriving nutrients at the other's expense. Okay, this is known as parasites. So the examples of parasites will be tapeworms and fleas. Okay, so they invade tissues. Invade means it is just the entry. Okay, so it enables the entry of tissues and they produce pus or harmful waste. So the bacteria can exist either as independent organisms or as parasites. Okay, that is they live on another organisms. Okay, and they invade tissues and they produce pus or harmful waste. Okay, so this is about bacteria. Now we'll move on to the bacterial diseases. So this is the tabulation of bacterial diseases. Okay, so the first one is cholera, and the mode of transmission for this bacterial disease is through contaminated water. Okay, and the second one will be the pneumonia, and the mode of transmission for pneumonia is through inhalation of airborne droplets from a sneeze or cough. Okay, so the mode of transmission of pneumonia is through inhalation of airborne droplets from a sneeze or cough. And the third one is the tetanus, and the mode of transmission for tetanus is through contamination of wounds with the bacteria. Okay, so the mode of transmission of tetanus is through contamination of wounds. Okay, and the fourth one will be the tuberculosis, and the mode of transmission of tuberculosis is through inhalation of airborne droplets from a sneeze or cough. It is just the similar mode of transmission of pneumonia. Okay, so pneumonia and tuberculosis are same mode of transmission. Okay, and the fifth one will be the typhoid, and the mode of transmission of typhoid will be contaminated food or water. Okay, so these are the bacterial diseases. So list the 5 bacterial diseases. Yes, it is the cholera, pneumonia, tetanus, tuberculosis and typhoid. Okay, so the mode of transmission of cholera is through contaminated water, and the mode of transmission of pneumonia is through inhalation of airborne droplets from a sneeze or cough. Okay, and the mode of transmission of tetanus is through contamination of wounds with the bacteria. Similarly, the mode of transmission of tuberculosis is through inhalation of airborne droplets from a sneeze or cough. Okay, and the mode of transmission of typhoid is through contaminated water or food. Okay, students. Now we'll move on to virus. Okay, so what is virus? Virus is a cellular agent that replicates only inside the cells of other living organisms. Okay, so what is virus? A virus is an infective agent, okay, that typically consists of a nucleic acid molecule in a protein coat. Okay, a virus can infect all types of life form, plants, animals and microorganisms. Okay, so a virus is a cellular agent which only replicates inside the cells of other living organisms. Okay, so these are the pictures of virus. So a virus can infect all types of life forms, that is plants, animals and other microorganisms. Okay, so they invade living normal cells and use their cells machinery to multiply. Okay, so they allow the entry of living normal cells and they use their cell machineries to multiply. Okay, and they can even kill or damage or change the cells and make you sick. Okay, so the virus can damage or change the cells present in your body and it can also make you sick. So these are the gifs of virus. Understood, students? Now what are virus? Virus is an infective agent, okay, that typically consists of nucleic acid molecule in a protein coat and it generally replicates only inside the cells of other living organisms. Okay, so a virus can infect all type of life forms, that is plants, animals and other microorganisms. Okay, so now we'll move on to the diseases caused by virus. So the various diseases caused by virus are common cold, influenza, hepatitis, polio, smallpox, chickenpox and measles. Okay, so these are the diseases caused by virus. So this is the common cold and this is the virus. Okay, understood, students? So what are the diseases caused by virus? It is the common cold, influenza, hepatitis, polio, smallpox, chickenpox and measles. Okay, so that's it, students. We have completed unit 6. So now I'll do a recap of what we learned in today's class. Okay, so first we looked into what is personal cleanliness, right? So in personal cleanliness you learned about hygiene. So what is hygiene? Hygiene is a set of practices performed to preserve our health. Okay, so hygiene is a science of the establishment and maintenance of health condition or practices conducive to health that has poor personal hygiene. Okay, and next we looked into the definition of hygiene, right? So according to World Health Organization, hygiene is defined as condition and practices that helps us to maintain the health and prevents the spread of diseases. Okay, so what is the definition of hygiene? According to WHO, hygiene refers to the conditions and practices that enables us to maintain our health and it prevents the spread of diseases. Okay, and next we moved on to the personal hygiene, right? So what is personal hygiene? Personal hygiene involves those practices performed by an individual to care for one's bodily health and well-being. through cleanliness. Okay, we saw the various personal hygiene, which involves how frequently we bathe, wash hands, trim fingernails, and change clothing. Okay, so it also includes the attention to keep surfaces in the home and workplace, including bathroom facilities, clean and pathogen free. Okay, and next we moved on to the tabulation of personal hygiene and frequency of cleanliness. So first we saw about eye hygiene. Okay, so you are supposed to wash your eyes daily every morning and whenever you feel your face is dirty. Okay, and next we moved on to the hair hygiene. So you must wash your hair weekly twice, preferably once every other day. Okay, and next we moved on to the body hygiene, and you are recommended to wash your body once or twice a day. That is, you are supposed to have bathe every day. Okay, and next we moved on to the oral hygiene. So you are supposed to brush your teeth twice a day and you must rinse your mouth after every meal. Okay, and next one is the feet hygiene, and you must wash your foot every day. Okay, and next one is the hand hygiene, and you are supposed to wash your hands every time after touching the infected surfaces. Okay, that is contaminated surfaces, and you are supposed to wash your hands before eating. Okay, and next one is the clothes hygiene, and you are supposed to wash your clothes once or twice a day. Okay, and next we moved on to the introduction to microbes. So in introduction to microbes, you learned about bacteria and virus, right? So most of the microbes belong to the four major groups, that is the bacteria, virus, protozoa, and fungi. So first you learned about bacteria, right? So what is bacteria? Bacteria are very small prokaryotic microorganisms. Okay, so what are prokaryotic microorganisms? Just now we saw that an organism which lacks nucleus are called as prokaryotic microorganisms. Okay, so bacteria cells do not have nucleus and they do not usually have membrane bound organelles. Okay, so these are the pictures of bacteria we saw, right? And we saw that the bacteria can exist either as independent organisms or as parasites. Parasites means they live on another organisms. Okay, and we saw that bacteria invade tissues, that is, they allow the entry of tissues, and bacteria produce pus or harmful waste. Okay, so we saw the gifs of bacteria, right? And next we moved on to the bacterial diseases. So what are the various bacterial diseases we saw? It's about cholera, pneumonia, tetanus, tuberculosis, and typhoid, right? So this is the tabulation of the bacterial diseases and the mode of transmission we saw. And next we moved on to the virus. So what is virus? Virus is a cellular agent that replicates only inside the cells of other living organisms. Okay, so virus are generally an infective agent that typically consists of nucleic acid molecule in a protein coat. Okay, so the virus can infect all types of life forms, that is plants, animals, and other microorganisms. And then we saw the pictures of virus, right? So the viruses invade living normal cells and they use their cell machinery to multiply. Okay, so virus can kill, damage, or even change the cells, and it can make you sick. Okay, so these are the gifs of viruses we saw, right? And next we moved on to the diseases caused by virus, right? So what are the various diseases caused by virus? It is the common cold, influenza, hepatitis, polio, smallpox, chickenpox, and measles. Okay, so that's it for today's class, students. We have done with unit 6. Okay, so from next class we'll be moving on to unit 7, that is computer. Okay, I have attached the assignments for you. Kindly write it in your notebook. Okay. Thank you, students.